The first time I visited Morocco, I spent 3 days in Tidli, a village in the high Atlas Mountains, to get a sense of what life is like up there. 5,000 feet above sea level, away from the noise of the city. No hospitals, no phone signal or internet connection, no cars, no pollution. It was amazing getting to live like the locals do in such a challenging terrain, and it taught me a lot about simple living. Ever since that experience, I've been fascinated by the societies that thrive in the High Atlas region, their traditions, their resilience, and their way of life. And in today's video, we are going back to the High Atlas Mountains and surrounding regions. We're going to spend the day trekking through the valleys, visiting Amazigh villages, and I'm going to be sharing all that I've learned about this unique way of life. We started the day bright and early in Marrakesh and drove south for about an hour until we came to the desert. Not the Sahara, but the Agafay desert. So our first stop today, this is called the Agafay Desert. It is a rock desert, not a sand desert, so there's no dunes here, but it's a very dry landscape. And we just stopped to do some camel riding. I'm not doing camel riding. I'm not that thrilled by it, so I decided to just walk around, make friends with the camels, and just take in the landscape. We also got dressed in these traditional clothing, and yeah, they smell very good, by the way, and they're very clean, so that's just a plus. But yeah, this is all part of the experience, and while everybody else is doing the camel riding, I'll just be here waiting and playing with the camels. I have to say, I really like the design of this outfit. So very beautiful traditional design here. This obviously is to keep your head cool, and yeah, it's very airy, nice, and very just comfortable outfit, which is much needed, especially in these sorts of dry and very hot climate and terrain. The conditions here are harsh as the climate is extremely dry, but the desert is quiet and peaceful. It almost feels like crossing into another world as you drive past the rugged terrain surrounded by the rocky plains in the scorching hot sun. As we followed the winding roads through this striking landscape and into the mountains, we arrived at Moulay Ibrahim, one of the biggest villages in the High Atlas, marked by the devastating earthquakes of 2023. Many families here and in some surrounding villages now live in tents after losing their homes and much of their belongings. Yet, even amidst the loss, life goes on. High Atlas communities rally together, gathering resources to rebuild homes or distributing food. But aside from rebuilding damaged infrastructure, communities here are also focused on restoring livelihoods, with initiatives like an argan oil collective for women. At this collective, women preserve ancient techniques passed down through generations to produce argan oil, peanut butter, and many other interesting products. And the interesting thing about this place is that a lot of the women who are here are people who have actually lost their husbands in the earthquake that happened. They had to find some source of livelihood, so they all came here to make argan oil, and all the products that they make, they sell them, and this is how they generate income. So we're just here to see how they make it and also just to support them.
Okay, come please. For the cosmetic piece, extract this fruit, we remove the shell. That one is the shell from the fruit. That one is the nut, okay? This is inside the fruit we have the nut. This is some shell. That one, we use it for animals, especially for goats.
Their work here not only sustains their families, but also connects these villages to global markets, as you have a lot of people from across the world, like myself, coming here for tourism, and we end up buying things. And so that way they're able to make money and the word spreads about what they do here. And that's how the business keeps going. As we ascend further into the high Atlas, the landscape transforms. And to my surprise, some parts are very lush and green and not as dry as one might expect. In the distance, you can even see snow on Mount Toubkal, the highest peak in North Africa. Melting snow from the mountains flows downhill and creates streams which provide fresh water for people and their animals. In the high Atlas, owning livestock is a measure of wealth, providing sustenance, income, and even status. People who own livestock most likely own land where the animals can graze. And it really does help to own livestock because there's no local shop or butchers in the mountains, so it's very convenient to be able to raise your own animals for meat and dairy products. People who own livestock usually keep the animals in close proximity to each other, and they collect all their droppings in a big pile, and that is used to fertilize the crops. So it just goes to show how natural and sustainable life is here. Everything goes back to the environment. If you ever go on a hike in the high Atlas Mountains, you'll notice that these animals, specifically the mules, are the ones who actually carry all your load up the mountain. And even with all the load that they're carrying, they will get to the destination before you. It just blows my mind how the animals are able to navigate the rocky terrain and the slopes, even with all the load that they're carrying. So our guide has invited us to his family home for some tea while we relax, just take a break from the hike, and the view is absolutely incredible. The terrain of the high Atlas is quite rocky, so it's important to have the right footwear. I wouldn't even consider what I have on as appropriate footwear, but it's okay. But what is crazy is just looking at people who grew up here and who live here. They can like navigate this terrain with like flip-flops. It blows my mind because the rest of us are just stumbling all over the place trying to get our balance, but they're just flawlessly navigating all the rocks and everything. It's very interesting how nature versus nurture. Crazy. Life in the mountains will teach you a lot. When I spent 3 days in the mountains, it was really interesting to see what the gender roles were like. Women and girls take on the day-to-day tasks like looking after the animals or fetching water or just tending to the home. Men and boys also spend time with the animals, but they also farm and build houses. And a lot of men split their time between the villages and the city. Obviously, there are more job opportunities in the city, so a lot of men go there to work and they send the money back to their families in the village. The money they send back to the villages is extremely important for rural development because it funds everything from overall upkeep of the house to building schools in the villages to providing irrigation systems and building more houses. The homes in the high Atlas Mountains are made from simple, just mud and stone. That's it. So they are built that way because they keep people cool. It's already cool enough here too, but just in the summer months, it can get quite hot as well during like in the middle of the day. So the building material just helps to keep people cool. But also because of how simple the building materials are, when the earthquake happened, a lot of the houses just could not withstand the force. I think it was a 7.6 magnitude earthquake. And yeah, so that's kind of the downside of these simple building materials in this kind of terrain. All of this stuff behind me is all handmade. This is traditional clothing and decor for the house. Very nice, very intricate work. Here you can also see some mats, all hand woven with their traditional designs on them. Just love stuff like this, but they are quite expensive. So if you're going to buy one, make sure you're prepared. Also, make sure you have big enough luggage for them to fit in. After a good hike, we were treated to the best of Amazigh cuisine, a 7-spice tagine slow cooked for several hours. They had told me that the Amazigh tagine is the best in the world, and believe me when I tell you that this is honestly one of the best things I've ever eaten. Food here isn't just sustenance, it's a connection to the land and its people. Local ingredients found on the land or grown and raised by the people, infused with the rich flavors of tradition. Just had the best lunch I think I've ever had in my life. Honestly, that tagine was ridiculously good. Ridiculously good. I can see why they say this is the best tagine in Morocco. From the outside, people might look at these societies and think that they are extremely unsophisticated and isolated, but that isn't necessarily true. Even here, globalization leaves its mark. You will see a lot of kids with Hello Kitty backpacks going to school, or wearing Nike and Adidas shoes, or any Western brands and things you wouldn't expect to see. But one thing you will learn here is that technology, education, and exposure to the outside world is reshaping the identity of these communities. As I leave the mountains behind, it's clear to me that life here is a delicate balance, anchored in tradition yet adapting to change. The High Atlas Mountains are more than just a beautiful destination. They are a testament to the strength and spirit of the people who call them home. Their resilience, shaped by the mountains, is a reminder of the enduring bond between humanity and nature.